Sinong champion kaya ang maganda gamitin sa Wild Rift? Hi guys, should be the one for an eye here, and it's time for another Wild Rift video. This time, dahil malapit na matapos ang ating closed beta, we will be discussing who are the top 5 champions of the closed beta. Now, disclaimer for this guide, I've actually based this doon sa mga top players ng ating server. Tingnan nyo lang syempre yung kanilang most played champion. Anong magandang champion na laruin? Sino mga top champions ng Wild Rift? Nararamdaman ko na given the amount of players that we have right now, still it's a closed beta test, I feel na masyado pang maaga. I want to wait on the open beta talaga to really give you a better and more reliable top champions video para sa Wild Rift. Let's go! Number 5, Graves. Graves is actually a jungler champion na kung saan kung gusto mong maglaro ng marksman or AD carry sa jungler, then Graves is the right guy for you. Even despite being a marksman or an AD carry, Graves is actually pretty durable pagdating sa jungle. Napakataas ng kanyang dueling capacity, and interestingly, for the early game and mid game, he deals a lot of damage. Now for the build of Graves, you got Yumus Ghostblade, Ninja's Quicksilver, Phantom Dancer, Death's Dance, Guardian Angel, and Black Cleaver, all of which gives a lot of utility for him as he duels, especially with the Phantom Dancer at kasama rin yung Black Cleaver combo, making sure na for every duel na ginagawa mo ay may advantage ka. Napakagandang bagay nito lalo pa kapag pinapamarisan ng quick draw ni Graves, a dash skill that actually reduces on cooldown for every hit that is made, not to mention it gives him more durabilities kapag ginamit mo. Again guys, Graves, utilize him. Despite being a marksman, he is the kind of marksman na hindi kailangan laging nasa likod. He has the luxury to stay and go into the front line. Of course, for the runes, you've got Fleet Footwork, Brutal, Hunter Titan, and Pack Hunter. This provides, some regeneration capacities para kay Graves. And although it makes him na parang okay ang Conqueror sa kanya, remember na hindi ganun kataas ang attack speed ni Graves. May scaling man siya sa attack speed, it is gonna be very minimal compared to other attack speed-based marksman. Mas reliable ang Fleet Footwork as it gives him more mobility and of course, dueling capacity for that regeneration na nakukuha niya. Napakalaking bagay din sa isang jungler ang Pack Hunter. What you'd want more is of his ability to get into fights very quick at makasali sa mga bakbakan o ganap sa mga lanes. Of course, being a jungler, you just pick up a Smite Flash combo onto Graves. Pero isa sa mga recommendation ko is actually trying out the top lane Graves. Although hindi siya yung nasa top picks ng mga top players natin, top lane Graves is very few losing matchup. Now, for the playstyle of Graves, you just want to make sure that you properly hit the bullets and you properly hit your skill. You want to make sure na lagi mo napapatama yung end of the line sa mga walls and you push your opponent into a corner. Doon pinaka nagsashine si Graves dahil ang ikli lang ng range ng kanyang auto-attack at ng mga skills niya. Pero they dish out big damage. Gamitin mo lang ang iyong collateral damage o yung ultimate mo bilang pang-target or pang-burst sa mga hindi mo maabutan sa backline or for those who are escaping after they have dueled you. Overall, Graves is such an awesome champ and nakakagulat yung damage na pwede niyang ibitaw. And the best part about him is of his reliable damage pagdating sa early game, mid game, and the idea that he also scales as a secondary AD carry for the late game. Number 4, Ezreal. Now, Ezreal is one of the oldest champions din for League of Legends and also quite popular. A range champion na naman ulit, pero the biggest part about him is of his spell weaving abilities. Not to mention, ang taas din ng kanyang mobility dahil meron siyang ability na tinatawag na Arcane Shift. To easily describe Arcane Shift, it is like a flash, pero mas maikli yung cooldown. It can go as low as 8 seconds with the proper amount of cooldown reduction. Ang maganda pa sa Arcane Shift is that nire-reset nito ang auto-attack pattern ni Ezreal. Hindi lang ganon, he is a poke champion. So imagine that, may mobility ka na, meron ka pang poke. Mga bagay na hindi usually kinokombo sa isang champion design. But Ezreal has it already. His ultimate has a relatively short cooldown na pwede mong ipang wave clear ng mga minions. Being an AD carry, he still scales towards the late game. And the best part about him is that he is so safe to use. Mga magagaling na Ezreal players, hindi sila nagkakaroon ng problema pagdating sa early game or mid game if they know how to properly count the cooldowns of their enemies. For the items, we get the Mana Muna, Trinity Force, Gluttonous Quicksilver, Blade of the Ruined King, Guardian Angel, and Mortal Reminder. Matik na yung Mana Muna para kay Ezreal, but some players, lalo na sa League of Legends, they prefer building kaagad yung Trinity Force as it dish out big damage. Pero feeling ko sa Wild Rift, especially with the buff na na ginawa sa mga Tear of the Goddess items, I think mas magiging staple palalo ang Mana Mune para kay Ezreal. Tinaasan din ang damage ng Mana Mune by 1%. Although hindi man mukhang marami yon, that 1% actually goes with his auto attacks. And remember that Ezreal has this passive called the Rising Spell Force na mas bibilis yung attack speed niya for every skill that is landed. And not to mention, it also allows Ezreal to just continue spamming and spamming those skills without having to worry about his mana. So yeah, Mana Mune para kay Ezreal. Of course, dadagdagan mo na lang siya ng survivability items. Maybe you'd want to lean on that lifesteal na binibigay ng Blade of the Ruined King at ng iba pang mga items. You'd want also some insurances in the form of the Guardian Angel for Ezreal. Whereas Trinity Force naman, napaka-reliable na item. For the runes, you have Conqueror, Triumph, Regeneration, Mana, Flow Band. Conqueror is so reliable because the Rising Spell Force still scales well with Ezreal. Actually, pag na-connect mo yung full combo mo, samahan mo lang ng 2 auto attacks at makukuha mo na kaagad yung damage bonus ng Conqueror. Although, I will also recommend Kleptomancy para kay Ezreal. It has been a popular rune sa kanya sa League of Legends and I think it's viable still in Wild Rift, although hindi masyadong ginagamit siguro sa higher rank. But yeah, try it out. It's always fun. Whenever you get a poke against your enemy champion, you get a bonus item effect and nakaka-excite kung ano yung makukuha mo. And I think that will be one of the most fun builds as well for Ezreal. Syempre, being a standard AD carry, summoner spells would go as heal. You could go for barrier as well, or maybe you could go for exhaust, diba? And flash. For the playstyle, like I said, just be very safe with Ezreal pagdating sa early game. Always be sure when to use your arcane shift. Dalawa lang naman yan whether offensively or defensively. And of course, ang isa sa mga pinakahinaan naman ni Ezreal ay kapag ginagank siya ng mga targeted spells. So babantayan mo na lang kaagad kung sino sa mga champions ng kalaban ang pwedeng mag-crowd control sa'yo o mag-burst sa'yo. If you are able to account for this, expect yourself to scale properly into the late game and fulfill your role as the ADC of the team. But Ezreal is on number 4. Eto na tayo, top 3 na mga tol. Number 3, a support champion, Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is characterized with one ability alone, and that would be of his hook. Although maraming champions naman sa League of Legends ang may hook, napaka-pioneering ni Blitzcrank pagdating sa hook mechanic ng LoL. He is a support champion with decent amount of durability, especially with this passive, pero yung kits niya talaga, crowd control lords, and as long as hindi binibitawan ni Blitzcrank yung kanyang hook, especially on a mobile game, ang taas ng pressure na kanyang pinoprovide. Meron din siyang mobility na nakukuha mula sa kanyang second skill. Despite being a support, with just your first skill alone, you can be a very big threat and a very game-changing threat pagdating sa kalaban mo. Not to mention, pag na-connect mo talaga yung hook mo, as long as you master and practice and maybe leaned onto perfection yung pag-hook mo, magiging super rewarding ka para sa teams mo. And I cannot but feel na napaka-konti pa ng counters for Blitzcrank pagdating sa support position for League of Legends. Kaya naman namamayagpag siya ngayon, being the only support on the top champion picks ng mga top players natin. For the item build, you got Ziggs Convergence, Protector's Vow, ayun yung Locket, Deadman's Plate, Abyssal Mass, and Randuin's Omen. Nothing really super special onto Blitz, no? Those are kind of standard support items because that is the thing about Blitz. Hindi siya ganun ka-super dependent sa item, lalo pa support lang naman at hindi naman ganun karami lagi ang gold ng isang support. But again, it is of his skill set. It is of his kit. Now, for the playstyle, you just want to make sure that either you land that hook or you keep the pressure on against the enemy team. And whenever you land that hook, wala na, katapusan na. You can chain that with your Ignite spell, or if you go for Exhaust just to protect your ADC. You can also chain that, of course, with your Knock Up, and also yung ultimate niya, napakalaking bagay din, quite underrated really. That is an AoE silence with a relatively short cooldown at nakakatulong din sa wave clear even if you don't cast it. Summoner spells, you could go with Ignite, Exhaust, and Flash. Number 2. We have Olaf. Hindi siya ganun ka-popular. He doesn't strike new players to be played kaagad. But Olaf is just so reliable. And for this early evolving meta that we have right now, I feel like Olaf talaga is totally preferred ngayon. Alam mo yun, interestingly, napakadali pick upin nung kanyang axe, no? Pag ginamit niya yung kanyang first skill na Undertow. And I can't help but feel na ang baba nung consequence o damage sa kanya nung kanyang Reckless Swing. Despite having the impression na parang immobile siya, napaka-reliable nung Ragnarok, nung parang avatar effect that you are immune to any crowd controls and just become unstoppable as you try to teach and target the backline. What you'd want if you you are playing Olaf is you don't mess up your targeting. Napaka-importante nun kay Olaf because of his decent wave clear, because of his decent damage, dueling damage, good attack speed. Ang ganda ng control niya sa jungle. Pwede namang makite pa rin si Olaf kapag nakaduel ka sa kanya. Pero the best part about him is because of such reliability into the jungle, he has no problems into scaling into that very offensive front line para sa team ninyo. And again, add Ragnarok into that. No? Hindi mo na kailangan mag-build ng Quicksilver Sash onto him. You can just really get into the backline if you want to, as long as you know how to calculate yung damage na ibabato sa'yo. Now, for the items, we got Trinity Force, Ninja's Glory, Sterak's Gauge, Guardian Angel, Thornmail, and That's Dance. No? The idea is, of course, just get an overall buff for him using the Trinity Force. Tapos, dagdagan mo lang yung kanyang durabilities because he has no problems with crowd control. So, kailangan niya na lang problemahin yung mga damage sa kanya. You fix that with armor or magic resistance or maybe the effect of Death's Dance kung saan dinedelay yung damage sa'yo and convert that to a damage over time effect. Ngayon, para sa runes, we got Conquerors, Brutal Regeneration, and Sweet Tooth. Interestingly, para sa kanyang defensive rune, ang nilagay natin ay Regeneration, which I do agree. There are instances talaga na nawawala na nauubusan ng mana si Olaf dito. And Regeneration provides maximum uptime for you. Both parts of which nagbe-benefit ka. The Regeneration rune actually gives you regeneration for your mana or health, whichever is lower. And for the case of Olaf, he benefits on low health, and for the mana, he really needs that mana ups. Kaya naman ang rewarding din nung Regeneration rune sa kanya. You can think of tenacity being put into him, pero remember, his ultimate is like 100% tenacity, no? Ang tanging crowd control lang na pwedeng pang kontra sa kanya, crowd control, are barricades, barrier. For example, Jarvan. And yeah, Conqueror really scales well with anyone na alam mo yun, umu-auto-attack ng sunod-sunod. And of course, I would like to mention the rune Sweet Tooth dito. The idea is to make the most of that honey fruit within the jungle. And of course, you get that scaling because of that bonus gold. At hindi lang naman bonus gold ang pinoprovide ng Sweet Tooth sa honey fruit. Ini-improve din ito yung regeneration, yung health na nakukuha mo sa kanya. Now, for the summoner spells, being a jungler, you just go for Smite and Flash. But I did saw some Olaf players na sinusubukan din yung Olaf top lane rolling out with an Ignite. Now, for the playstyle of Olaf, I just give you with a simple advice. You just need to know when to go in and when to go out. What kind of damage will be a problem to you or not. Because if it's a question of can you go in or can you go out, you can always go in with Olaf because of Ragnarok. And finally, the number 1 champion for the close beta. Ladies and gentlemen, I also like to mention na itong champion na to, libreng rank points to. Seryoso, this guy is downright overpowered right now. I would agree on that part. I've played him and with very little mastery of him, you know, is way more successful compared dun sa mga champions na pinipilit ko laruin. And that is none other than Xin Zhao. The Senecal of Demacia is, I think, the champion that sits at the top of the throne right now. This champion is, for the record, so strong, makikita mo siya sa mga most played champions ng karamihan sa mga top players natin. And yeah, ang dami na nag-a-ask para man-nerf na siya, and he is already slated for nerfing. In-announce na rin ni Riot. Pero for now, we're talking about close beta top champions, and hindi pa dumadating yung nerf sa kanya, at patapos na yung close beta. And yeah, he is the number 1 champion for the close beta. Xin Zhao has a really awesome offensive kit. His first skill has a relatively short cooldown, the 3 talon charge. And the best part about the 3 talon charge is that it reduces the cooldown of his other skills by 3 seconds. Tapos, isama mo pa yung knock-up na nagagawa sa third attack niya. This actually works well with the audacious charge kung saan naman it is a targeted dash towards any enemy champion, which I would say decent, malayo-layo yung distance niya, at sa bandang dulo ay merong attack speed bonus. Now, if you cast the 3 talon strike bago ka mag-audacious charge, yung attack speed na pinoprovide ng audacious charge will quickly allow you to land the 3 talon strike, instantly reducing the cooldown of audacious charge for 3 seconds. Ang gandang combo nito, ang ganda nung dalawang skills na to on how they interact. Tapos, wind becomes lightning is also an awesome skill. Ang taas din ng damage ratios nito, and even though with a 50% cut on the damage to minions, it's still decent for wave clear. At yun ang kinaganda ni Xin Zhao, no, of his kit. Isama na rin natin yung kanyang passive. His passive works much like Nasu's. Although Nasu's passive life still works on every auto attack, kay Xin Zhao naman gumagana every third auto attack, which is okay lang. Para sa akin, decente. And one of the major deal breakers pa for Xin Zhao would be of his ultimate, ang Crescent Guard. Now, the crazy thing about Crescent Guard is that there is a mechanic there that allows Xin Zhao to be impervious to damage. Hindi siya naaapektuhan ng damage. So, how does this work? Pag kinas mo ang Crescent Guard, everyone na hindi na challenge o hindi ini-auto-attack ni Xin Zhao will be pushed away, will be swept back. And anyone outside the circle na nabuo kay Xin Zhao will deal 0 damage onto him kahit iba to ipatama yung mga spells. That is the crazy part for him. He is such an effective counter for range heroes, lalo na kapag ginamit niya yung kanyang Crescent Guard, because those range heroes, kahit gano'n pa kabdi yung mga damage nila, for a time will not deal damage onto Xin Zhao. This ultimate can be used offensively and can be used more effectively defensively kapag naki-duel ka. Kaya naman there is some luxury for Xin Zhao to build offensive items kasi yung ultimate niya napaka-reliable defensively. Lalo pa ang composition ng kalaban ay napakaraming range heroes. At sinasabi din ngayon na yung meta ng Wild Rift ay prefer yung mga AD carries kasi napakadali control ng AD carries sa isang mobile game. Xin Zhao is just really great. You have an instant dash against an enemy champion, you have a nice dueling kit, you have your crowd control, napaka-decent, meron ka pang knockback. He is almost a full package. Ang tanging kawalan lang ni Xin Zhao dito ay wala siyang dash. Talagang naglalakad lang siya. And for the most part, if you don't save up your flash, lahat ng kits mo talaga puro pa forward, puro pa sugod. Now for the item build, I just based this from Arisen. He is for the most part the number 1 player ng ating close beta. Ewan ko lang ano ng pagbabago-bago naganap doon sa top 5. But for the items, we got Yumus Ghostblade, Trinity Force, Mercury's Glory, Guardian Angel, Thornmail, and Randuin's Omen. One of the most interesting part dito ay ang Yumus Ghostblade. Pero napaka-prefer nito ng napakaraming jungler din. Makikita nyo nga sa ating number 5 pick na si Graves din ay nag-Yumus Ghostblade priority. The movement speed it provides really works well for the jungler position so that mas makakarating at makakaresponde ka sa mga laban kapag kinakailangan mo. And that is one of the key strength for Xin Zhao. Lalo pa kapag nakapag-counter engage si Xin Zhao, ang hirap-hirap takasan. Just with the Yumus Ghostblade and Trinity Force, you're already a massive threat damage-wise. So ang ilalagay mo kay Xin Zhao naman dito would be durability. So you're gonna be putting in armor, return damage, malaking bagay din yon, and the insurance of Guardian Angel. And yeah, for the runes, you got Conqueror, Triumph, Hunter, Titan, and Pathfinder. Kita-kita mo talaga na ang habol din dito would be of movement speed because of that Pathfinder. And the tenacity na pinaprovide naman ng Hunter Titan na napakalaking bagay din, especially during moments that you want to close in, at least get within the dashing distance ng Audacious Charge. For the Summoner spell, being a jungler, what you got is a Smite and Flash. Of course, we got a special mention. Hindi natin banggitin si Camille. Camille might have been the number 1 of this list. Umabot siya sa 66% play rate, no, during the close beta. Pero inabutan siya ng nerf. And yeah, from there, medyo hindi na siya naka-recover. And surprisingly, wala ka bias, we also have Jhin. He is my favorite champion. I really think he is a decent AD carry. Pero di ko in-expect na preferred pick rin pala talaga siya. Maybe because of the early game damage na kaya niya talagang i-provide. And as long as you keep good distance against your enemy, you dish out decent damage. And sa mga hindi nakakaalam, he has very decent wave clear. Utilize those traps on Jhin. Napaka-crippling niya. And another special mention would be of Jax. Mukhang dahan-dahan na intindihan na ng mga players dito kung paano laruin, kung paano i-abuse din yung kits and mechanics ni Jax dito. Jax is a champion that may struggle in the early game but can turn out to be one of the most deadly champions pagdating ng late game. He is a scaling god. And by design din talaga, Jax is a champion who is capable of taking on multiple enemies basta makarating at makascale sa late game. And there we go. That is the top 5 champions ng close beta. Again, there is an upcoming nerf for Xin Zhao. Habang hindi pa siya nino-nerf, guys, free rank points, gamitin nyo na. I'm throwing it away. I'm actually abusing it. You should abuse it as well. Pero more importantly, beyond that is, again, enjoy in trying out other champions. Although there is evidence in finding success with these top champions, still, I think the right way to play Wild Rift is to really find your champion, find your playstyle. Tapos, alam mo yun, just concentrate on there. Because League of Legends is designed for mastery. And if you got the mastery right, you are rewarded properly. So, go for it. Maybe go become a Lee Sin Lord, Fizz, a Zed, Yasuo, mga kaibigan. And yeah, that's it. Like if you like the video, subscribe to support our channel. And yeah, kayo naman, no? Let me know in the comment sections. Sino para sa inyo ang top champion, or siguro champion na nilaro nyo during the close beta? And bakit? Bakit kayo na in love sa kanya? I'm Shibu the one for an eye, always saying na lahat kayong gamers, mabuhay!